Hey everyone, welcome back. So in the last video, I showed you the Telegram bot prototype I built and it worked. It proved the basic workflow, like stories could be retrieved, categories worked, and the data flow made sense. But the experience was not so good. I had no control over the design and there were other limitations too. So it was time to build an actual iOS app. And that's where things got real because I needed to move from that simple automation setup to Xcode, Swift, and the entire Apple ecosystem, which I knew nothing about. So, in this video, I'm showing you exactly how I set up my workflow and tools, the AI assistants I used, how I stayed organized, and how I used GitHub to track everything. So, let's get into it. Okay, so before I found the right tools, I was just using ChatGPT. Like the regular web version, the chat interface. And it was helpful for answering basic questions. Like, if I asked what's Swift UI or how do I create a button, it would explain it. But here is the problem, it couldn't see my project. So every time I needed help with my actual code, I had to copy code from my files, paste it into ChatGPT, get a response, then copy that response and paste it back. And if I had a follow-up question, I would have to do it all over again because ChatGPT doesn't remember your files. It doesn't know your folder structure and context just disappeared. I also tried Google's AI Studio around that time and same issue. I had to keep copy pasting everything. And for someone trying to build their first app, this was very exhausting. I needed something that could, work directly in my project, something that could see my files and help me make changes without all this back and forth. And that's where I found Claude Code CLI. And this was a game changer for me. It's a command line tool that runs directly in my project folder, which means it can see all my files, read them, create new files, edit existing files, run commands, and help me fix errors and a lot more, all without me having to copy paste anything. And then later on, Google launched the Gemini CLI, and I started using that alongside Claude. Okay, so before I even started building, I did something that ended up being really important. I created a PRD, which is a product requirement document. Now, a PRD is normally this big formal document that companies use for, teams and stakeholders. But I'm just one person. I don't have a team or investors. So, why did I make one? Because I needed clarity. Without a plan, it's so easy to, just keep adding random features and never actually finish anything. Oh, let's add social features. Or what about subscriptions? Maybe we need a web version too. And suddenly you are 6 months in and your app still doesn't work. So I created a simple PRD, not some 20-page corporate document, just a clear outline. And here's what I included. First thing was what I am building. That was a kids learning app with AI generated stories and activities. Then the next question was who it's for. Parents looking for educational screen time alternatives and kids of ages 2 to 6 who love stories and interactive games. Third thing was core features that my app would include, which was multiple kid profiles, Google and Apple sign in, stories and offline mode, activities like coloring, puzzles, and other games. And the next was nice to have features, which was optional and included things like, theme customization, customer profile icons, and font size adjustments. And the last was technical stuff, like what platforms I was going to use or, the tools I was going to use to build this app. And that's it. Nothing fancy. But having this written down changed everything. It gave me a roadmap. I knew what I was building and what I wasn't. And here's the key thing, the PRD wasn't static. As I built the app, I kept updating it. Some features turned out harder than expected, some I realized weren't necessary. So every couple of weeks, I would revisit the PRD and adjust it. And whenever I started a new session with Claude, I would just say, read the PRD and help me with this feature. Claude would understand the entire project instantly. I didn't have to re explain everything. The PRD became the project's memory. Along with PRD, I also created two other files, Markdown files for Claude and Gemini. These were different from the PRD. The Claude Markdown file had technical details like the app architecture, how data flows, development rules that Claude should follow, and code patterns to use. And the Gemini Markdown file had creative guidelines like story generation rules, tone guidelines, content safety rules, and prompt templates. And just like the PRD, these files evolved as I built the app. I kept adding new rules, new patterns, and things that Claude and Gemini should avoid. These files became the instruction manual for both the AI assistants. Okay, so with the planning done, it was time to set up Xcode. Xcode is Apple's tool for building iOS apps. It's the most popular IDE for iOS development. Once Xcode was installed, I opened it and created a new project and named it GiggleTales. For the interface, I chose Swift UI, Apple's newer framework for building UIs. And then this screen appeared, and I was like, okay, what is all of this? And there were files everywhere: GiggleTales app.swift, contentview.swift, folders, setting panels, and a lot. I had no idea what any of it did. And this is where both of my AI assistants, Claude Code and Gemini, came in handy. So now last step is GitHub. From day one, I made sure to save my code on GitHub. And here is why. Every time I got something working, like a new feature or small fix, I would commit it to GitHub. Think of a commit like a checkpoint in a video game. If I tried something new and completely broke my app, I would always go back to the last checkpoint. And as a beginner who breaks things a lot, this saved me so many times. Now, there are only 5 Git commands you really need as a beginner. I built this entire app using just these 5. First is Git status, which shows what changed in your project and what's not saved yet. Second is Git add dot, which stages all your changes, basically saying these are the changes I want to save. Then third is Git commit, which actually saves your work with a short message explaining what you did. Then the next is Git push, which uploads everything to GitHub. Think of this as your backup. So even if your computer crashes, your code is safe. And the last is Git pull, which brings the latest changes from the GitHub into your project. And that's it. Just 5 commands. I made it a habit to commit small changes regularly. This way, if something broke, I could easily see what changed. And I could test each small piece individually instead of trying to debug a huge update. And and make sure you have a .gitignore file. This tells Git to ignore certain files you don't want to upload, like your API keys, secret files, and build folders. Basically, anything sensitive or unnecessary. And that's the GitHub setup that I did in my project. Simple but super important. In the next video, we are diving in the backend. So, this is where things get technical, but I'll walk you through it step by step. So, if you're finding this series helpful, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next one. And if you guys have any questions about any of the tools I have mentioned, let me know in the comment section below. So, alright, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Until then, bye bye.